Okay, June 12 has no doubt become an unforgettable date in Nigeria, as it has many significance for our past, our present, and our future. 28 years after the late MKO Abiola declared himself president of Nigeria in Epetedo, Lagos, to reclaim his June 12, 1993 mandate, the area has become part of Nigeria's democratic struggle that people throng to celebrate as part of activities to mark the 2022 Democracy Day. Activists gathered at the location where Abiola made the famous Epetedo Declaration that led to his incarceration in 1994 and ultimate death in 1998. They tasked Nigerians to fully participate in the 2023 elections to elect credible leaders and deepen democratic culture in the country. TPC News' Nelson Etta has the story.
Chief MKO Abiola, arguably the face of modern democracy in Nigeria, as candidate of the Social Democratic Party SDP in the June 12, 1993 presidential election, Abiola rallied citizens nationwide for the poll, described as the freest and fairest in Nigeria's history. But the military junta of General Ibrahim Babangida truncated his victory and annulled the election. Against all odds, Abiola stood up to the military junta that deprived him of his mandate for 1 year.
In view of all this, I find the conclusion unfortunate but inescapable that the federal military government is guilty of bad faith, pure and simple. No one has accused me of any offense against any known electoral law or regulation. The people of this country went to polls on Saturday, June 12, 1993, and without let or hindrance chose me as their president. Didn't they?
Epetedo Declaration shows that Abiola is a courageous person. A courageous man that fought for his right, even up to the point of his death. Without that declaration, we may not have that election be validated now. But because of the courage, it shows that, oh, I won that election and I am the president-elect. That shows he's a courageous man, and that appeals to our consciousness too, to continue agitating and agitating.
As part of events to mark the 2022 Democracy Day and the anniversary of the declaration, activist and human rights lawyer Aya Obe highlighted the significance of the day.
All I would say about today is that remember that this event, from here, Abiola went home, and then 12 days later, he was arrested and taken to prison, and he never came out of that prison alive. People lost their lives in Lagos here over protesting over June 12th. So this democracy that we have now, it did not come to us on a platter of gold. People fought and struggled for it, not for themselves, but because they hoped for a better future. It's like the person who plants a tree. They may not sit under the shade, but they expect that their children will benefit. And that's what we need to remember. It's not for personal gain, as we seem to see it. It's because we want a better Nigeria.
She also called on Nigerians to get their permanent voter cards, PVC, to elect credible leaders who will strengthen democracy in the country.
You get your voter's card if you don't already have it. I'm surprised if you don't have it, but if you don't have it, go and get it. Try to make your choice about who you will vote for. But when you have voted, don't go to sleep. You have a local government. Don't go to sleep on that local government. You have a member in your House of Assembly. Don't go to sleep on that person. At every stage, let those people know that the vote that you cast for them is not a one-off affair. It's not a one-day relationship. It's not a one-night stand. They are supposed to continue servicing you throughout the 4 years. And then when they come back and say, vote for me again, you might consider it, but somebody better may have come along, so they should take time.
One of the victims of the brutality visited by the military on people during the June 12 protests in 1993 narrated how he was shot and left amputated for life.
It's the time that we are doing the rally, when we are coming from Alaka to Eko Beach. on top of the first tank. They're shooting us with armor tank. Is where I get in my accident. So when I had the accident, Dr. Beko was there, Femi Falana was there, Gokori was there, a lot of people were there. It's there that came to come and rescue my life for me. Because the idea is the one who came to come and rescue my life. So from there, they took me to hospital. From hospital, those soldiers are still come to the hospital, come and attack us. It's from there I break the window, I found myself inside the flower. So it's where I escaped my life.
He also called on Nigerians to get their PVCs and be ready to vote in 2023.
We need a good government and everybody to have a PVC to select the person that will take us to the promised land of this nation. That's what I need.
We should learn that what Abiola showed is what he's reaping now. Whoever wants to be a good leader must do the best thing for the people. The people are expecting nothing less than good from government.
Today marks the 29th year of June 12th, and the question will be, what are the lessons learned? The lessons for me is that we have Nigeria has succeeded in persuading the military to stay away from governance. 2, the political dispensation has taken roots, and today the rules are being followed.
The Epetedo Declaration made democracy to be alive in Nigeria as a result. But what we have today, vis-a-vis the democratic culture we have today, is not yet a uhuru. We just have a semblance of democracy, whereby conscience of various mandates or candidates or delegates is being monetized, dollarized, nairalized. So that is not good democratic culture.
On June 12, 2018, the government of President Muhammadu Buhari recognized Abiola as the winner of the annulled June 12, 1993 presidential election and conferred Nigeria's honor of Grand Commander of the Federal Republic, GCFR, on him.
This retrospective and posthumous recognition is only a symbolic token of redress and recompense for the grievous injury done to the peace and unity of our country.
But many analysts say the wrongs of June 12 have not yet been corrected. For them, 2023 holds that key. Nelson Etta, TVC News, Lagos.
You know, some activists, let me start from you, Emeka. Some activists during June 12, they are still nursing their wounds. I remember people like Larry Arogunade, anytime he's out of the country, his name is still in the database of DSS. The DSS DG just addressed it now that they've met it since this time, and they just removed the name of Larry. Anytime Larry has any international conference, his name will pop up as a person of interest.
Yeah, it's part of the unfortunate event that, around June 12th. And it was not necessary because of the inordinate ambition of certain people to hang on to power. That was what led us into the avoidable bloodletting and destruction that trailed June 12th. Ordinarily, Nigerians came out and voted. Nigerians expressed their desire to see the end to military rule. But unfortunately, the military rulers at that time didn't get the message, and Nigerians were tired of them. But in spite of it, Nigerians continue. So many people lost their lives. If you were to do a roll call of names, oh my, too many people. I saw brutality because I was old enough to witness some of those events. Brutality by the military, the SSS at that time, police, unnecessary visited brutality of people. So many prominent politicians of today, they escaped, by the skin of their teeth. One of them, even his house was burnt. Maybe I don't remember if it's Bolaji Akinyemi or so. His house was burnt. So a lot of these things, I think I just hope, I pray, we never have to go back to military rule in this country because it serves no purpose at all. It was just an era that's better forgotten.
But actually, I don't know. My own memory about June 12 is I was following this person. What's his name? Red Drum. All around Lagos, we used to follow him to Anthony, Dr. Becker's house at Imaria, from that CLO building down to Yaba and everything. And Maigun was the Unilag Student Union president as at that time. And I just saw it, and a lot of Nigerians, Chief Kokori, played prominent role. Your late friend, Bagata Kato, yes, paid the ultimate price, didn't he?
Yes. You know, I always remember what happened. What happened to Kokori and Chief Oshoba. Somebody came out with the false story that they had been picked up.
Yeah.
So that story went viral at that time. There was no internet. There
was bush radio.
But the story spread like bushfire. Spread like bushfire. Bushfire was our own.
A protracted Nupeng strike.
So they got angry that they had been lied against. So they continued to look for both men.
Kokori went on that.
When they were going to get them, they lied. They got someone, as I was told, they got someone that looked like Shoba. And then said that he wanted to see Kokori. So he walked into them, and then they took him away. They used the same trick, took Akirogun Oshoba away. When, by the time they were now arrested by those security agents, in the real sense, the real arrest, Nigerian newspapers that had goofed by reporting the fake arrests back then, they didn't want to make that mistake again, so nobody was prepared to report it. Whereas they had been taken away. You know, it took a while before people then got used to the fact that these guys had been taken away. And it was all because we were fighting for June 12. Many people were killed. Abacha was going to the airport. So he was told that the third mainland had literally been barricaded by protesters. So his men wanted to take him through through the other route. He then said, if I am the commander-in-chief, it is that route that you take me through. That why should I use a longer route when I'm commander-in-chief? Because some miscreants block the road? What are you telling me? If I am the commander-in-chief, then that is that place that I want to pass through. Many people were killed that day.
And if you remember, when they shot through, they still want to pass that time.
Yes.
Road closed.
They shot through the crowd. They shot through the crowd that had blocked the road and created a pathway for the head of state to pass and go to the airport. And you see, the Epetedo, talking about Epetedo, Abiola came under tremendous pressure that, look, you are the president. You won an election. Why don't you declare yourself the president? You know, many of the activists were not quite comfortable with Abiola's pussyfooting. You know, Abiola was, they had suddenly made an activist and a radical out of Abiola, but he had never been.
Didn't have that kind of background.
Yes, he didn't have that.
Businessman stroke.
Maybe if it was a Ghanaian, for example.
Yes, would have
that won election. You know, that one is born activist. He would. So, the peer pressure. Then, in the end, he did what he told him to do. Declare yourself the winner.
Senator Wahab Dosumu took him to that Epetedo.
I just saw the Jonathan Zingwina now.
Zingwina, yes.
You know, because he was very active in the Hope 93 struggle. So, after he now declared himself president, having won the election, the military junta got angry. It was Okiro,
Yes.
who later became IG, was the one who arrested
CP2.
Yes, he was the one who arrested Abiola.
Yes.
And took him.
I remember that famous phone call
and took him to
the
Abuja.
BBC. They are taking me. They have been arrested. Me, Babade recorded it.
Yeah. So he did what the people told him to do. That look, you are our leader, you are our president. Declare yourself president. But we all know that against the military regime,
that is
and a brutal person like Abacha, you know, he talked less. You know, you will not know Abacha's mind because he rarely talked. So that was a very dangerous thing to do at that time.
To decide to declare as the president.
Yes, which means that territory. Which means that you now have two presidents.
Yes.
He felt that by that action, Abacha felt by that action he had been confronted. And as a military man, he was not going to take things lightly. And that was what prompted them to arrest Abiola. They then put him in custody so that he will no longer constitute a threat to the government of Sani Abacha. I think that in the final analysis, President Buhari did well by immortalizing Abiola in the way that he has done and making June 12th our Democracy Day, because no other date.
And today we have our stadium in
it.
Abuja as MKO Abiola.
Yes, named after him. You know, so it's a good thing. The memory of June 12th will never be erased.
Never.
I just hope that the same spirit that made Nigerians to vote in that manner that day, that somehow we could come to that kind of spirit again, because it's good for our unity, for us to know that we could brush aside ethnic divisions, religious divisions,
sentiments,
to simply choose our leader without looking at where those leaders of ours came from. The people felt that they were the best, and they voted for them. I wish that, as we are linking this with 2023, I wish that Nigerians would simply vote for who, in the spirit of June 12th, elect the right leader without thinking of ethnic or religious colorations.
Meanwhile, okay, I have a professor of history at the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, Olukemi Rotimi, joins us for more discussion on the significance of June 12th. Thank you for joining us, Professor Rotimi.
Thank you.
Prof.
Good afternoon.
Yes, can you tell us, years after, today is now Democracy Day, no longer May 29th, what are those lessons that we've learned from June 12, 1993 presidential election, years after?
One of the major one is that our democracy is maturing, and the sacrifice is well worth the price. Because when it comes to think of it, with what President Buhari has done, June 12 is now etched in the memory of everybody, including those who have not been born in 1993. And it's interesting. I mean, I'm a historian and I'm excited at the fact that it's a Buhari who was at 1993. For those who removed him from power in 1993, I would not have thought that a time like this would come, that he will become one of the heroes of June 12. Because indeed the man is one of the heroes of June 12, with all that restoration that he has done for Abiola. And for me, in a democracy, development cannot be by quantum leap. Incremental progress, and they are measurable. I'll fast forward to talk about the primaries of the two parties that we witnessed recently. In 2006, 2010, 2014, who would have thought that the kind of thing we witnessed PDP primary, APC, could be possible. I mean, people go now to the field to contest and then get entertained in a way. But now the results are no longer written in the bedrooms of some party chieftains, and only the outcomes are read on the field. We saw people actually canvass, then lobby, and then all of the conspiracy theories. Very entertaining, very enlightening. But we're making progress. I think June 12th has matured, and our democracy is maturing. Thank you.
Declaration. What are your recollections about that epochal event?
Of the epochal event now. The election itself was epochal. The declaration of Abiola was epochal. Some of the aftermath also epochal. Let us begin with the exercise, the vote. I remember in the Kairabo was the one who dropped that statement, literally on the street, about the annulment of the election. And I remember Major chieftain now, I'm trumpeting the annulment. He's a key player in the media space now. I remember the Epetedo thing, and then the arrest of Abiola. Because I took time to record the campaign. I will have some millions of tips on campaigns, and then the outcome of the election. And I remember Professor Humphrey
While they're trying to just work on the audio of Professor Rotimi, do you think it was a wise thing by you two? You are also an historian, for MKO Abiola to have declared that Epetedo that day, because since he was arrested that day, we didn't see MKO Abiola again. He was arrested, never to come back.
Well, I think that we did the right thing in the final analysis. Yes, we should have known that confronting the military in the way that he did would have some terrible repercussions, especially someone like Sani Abacha.
Ruthless.
Maybe an IBB would have handled the situation better. You know, IBB was his friend. Abacha was not really his friend. Abacha wanted power badly. He was already being referred to as Khalifa, even while Babangida was in power. So he felt that naturally it was his turn. So that kind of person, when you confront him,
entitlement.
yes, he felt that look, and a lot of us believe that IBB deliberately left him behind because he retired other generals and then left him
as Minister of
Defense. So and his argument was that he will help stabilize the interim government. But for somebody who was being called Khalifa, you know, in fact, IBB shocked him one day. IBB had just arrived from a journey and they lined up to receive him. And when IBB got to him, IBB shook his hands and called him Khalifa. He was sending a message to him and that I'm already aware that they are calling you Khalifa. He was the Milokon of his time.
Yes,
so Abiola, whichever way he behaved, don't forget that many people badly wanted him to reclaim that mandate.
Yep.
They were tired of the military, the games that the military were playing. Yes, the games that the military were playing. The military would give politicians money to to contest, At the same time, they will come and cancel the whole transition program.
Yes.
I mean, that was what they were doing. People were already very angry. Yes, because he wanted his transition to look, to have credibility. He encouraged big conditions. So he was behaving very much like Mandela.
Okay.
Because if Mandela wanted to be released,
he would have been released before.
He would have been released with conditions. But he stood firm. Stayed there for that long.
Oh, Prof.
Because he was not going to release on condition.
Professor Luka Mirotimi is still there. Thank you for staying tuned.
Yeah.
Now, sir, what?
Yes.
At the end of the day, MKO Abiola paid the ultimate price. And do you think democracy is better off for that sacrifice he made today?
I said that in my preliminary comments, that June 12th is well worth the price that the man paid, and our democracy is maturing. We're gradually getting there. I know how passionate you guys were, especially when the APC thing became a ding-dong about consensus candidate. Babajide was very, how do I put it now, feverish about whether they will go the consensus way or they will go to the field. And I knew the tendency in journalist hangout, which was for people to go to the field. Eventually, they went to the field. And we all saw the outcome. And in all honesty, many Nigerians are very happy at the way the APC eventually redeemed part of his glory that was waning before the primaries. That is part of maturation of democracy. As I've said, in 2006, 2010, 2014, that is the years before the elections, results will have been written in some smoky rooms. And the outcome, people just go to Igu Square, whatever square, dance around, and then you get the result. So our democracy is maturing. Yes.
Well, I must say it's a very lucid presentation. But what do you think Nigerians should take away from June 12th? Because it appears as if it has become just mainly symbolic. If we compare it to January 20, which is Martin Luther King Day, I mean, you see there are evocative memories, around that. What do you think Nigeria should take away from June 12 and hold on to? And then secondly, do you think that just naming June 12 as making it a public holiday, do you think that that has strongly passed the message that Nigerians want to live with democracy forever and ever?
Okay, let me start with your comparing apples and oranges. June 12 and Martin Luther King Day. Your name escapes me now.
Emeka.
But Emeka, my good friend.
Yes.
Now, when was January 20 declared a public holiday in America relative to when June 12 was declared a public holiday in Nigeria? Do the arithmetic and let me have the answer later. In other words, Martin Luther King was killed in 1968. I'm not sure that it was as fast as we had June 12 declared as public holiday. So, doesn't that should tell us something that we should keep hope alive? For those of you who are familiar with me, this thing about keeping hope alive is my sing song. We have to, because our democracy is just maturing. Say what you may. There's no way you compare development of democratic governance in Nigeria with the American experience. No way. But it remains an icon, remains an example. Our democracy is maturing, and the dividends of June 12, they are already here. I have just said, and I repeat, the kind of primaries we witnessed, PDP, APC, that they remain benchmarks now for the future. We didn't enjoy that kind of thing before. In times past, once that thing about Mr. President looking the direction of consensus had been touted, that's what they would have done. We know one president or one past president, Tom Hell or whatever, that is what would have happened. But we now saw this other man, inscrutable, just sat down there, whether he was comfortable or not, he still allowed the process to pass. Today now you cannot accuse him of imposition. Our democracy is maturing. And what we need is patience and life so that we can be around to witness many more positive development about our democratic governance. I mean, now there's a new talk in town now. Muslim ticket, Christian Muslim ticket. These are things that really don't belong to the commentariat. These are party affairs. But let us just assume, for instance, that Ashwaji chooses to do a Muslim ticket. Do you think the voters in Southwest will necessarily, because of that, abandon him? If they abandon him and they go to the other man, is the other man the principal in the other party? I think, is he not Muslim? So some of these things, this is work in progress. Let's treat our democracy as work in progress, but we are making fantastic progress. That's my assessment. Fantastic progress.
Okay, Prof.
And then let's stop flogging our country as if nothing is happening. A lot is happening. Buhari was not supposed to still be alive by now, if we go by what his military compatriots thought or did in 1985. Some of those who said if Abiola got the mandate then, they would die. They have since been active participants in our democracy. We don't have to name names. You are a journalist, veteran, you know who and who we are talking about. Some have held very key positions, but are they not still all alive now? And then Abiola has become, quote and unquote, a president recognized in
death. Prof, let me ask you this question, Prof.
Yes.
On June 12, 1993,
yes.
What was that day like for you? Where were you? Did you vote?
Not just that I voted, a transistor radio that I bought that day is one of my most prized possessions, just to monitor development throughout that day. Very aged now, but I've endeavored to keep it functional. Even in the light of development in communication, that transistor radio is still with me. And as I've said, I recorded most of the campaigns. I have 12 90-minute tapes on Abiola's campaign, the annulment, and some development thereafter. So the June 12th is very, for some of us, we are very much wedded to June 12th. Yes, I am one of those. I have the records, historical records, very prized possessions. And as I've said, I remember Nduka was the one who issued that statement and literally just threw it on the street, and it was picked that the thing had been annulled. He later ended up in the House of Reps, but if you have noticed, some have become villains in a way society has punished them. They had only one brief appearance in our democratic space, but some others have enjoyed privileges that they should not have had, but that's the way of God and life. Yes, one of them was principal officer, third person in the country. Those are the people that they would die. But eventually Abacha came and tackled them, very rough tackling. So I was very much involved with June 12th. Yes, my transistor radio. If I knew you were going to ask a question, I would have brought it along and showed it to you.
Where did you vote that day? Where did you vote?
I've been in Ilefe for all this year. I voted on this campus.
Okay.
In 1993, right here in the staff quarters.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, before you go, it was in November 1983 that MLK Day was declared by President Ronald Reagan.
Okay.
1983, November 1983.
It's a party from 1968.
And this is barely 2 years.
Yeah, that's about, some, yeah.
Thank you, Prof.
I want to thank you,
time.
Professor Olukemi Rotimi, from the
15 years.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to delete your name from my phone.
Prof.
And I'll prevent you from reaching Ijagba. Put roadblocks on the first stretch, and then you know why you should report them.
The gloves are, the gloves are off.
I'll call you to apologize, so please.
The gloves are off.
All right, from Obafemi Awolowo University, historian like you, Jide.
Yes. He's a very stubborn man, but his views are always logical.
Yeah.
Beneath that stubbornness is a brain that oozes wisdom. So he's someone that I like to share ideas with.